Crime Stalkers. I'm Steph.
And I'm Sin. And we'd like to thank you for tuning in to our first episode. We talked about making this for a few months, and we finally got around to making the first episode while planning our wedding. So, it's been busy. Alright, so to kick it off, we're going to start with a story from our neck of the woods. It's about two young boys who ventured out of their small town, Metamora, Michigan, and came down to Daytona Beach on their own without their parents. Like, this is the first time they've done this kind of thing. And now when I say, like, Daytona Beach, what's your first thought? What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Old people, retirement.
Retirement? Old people? Damn.
I mean, what else is there? You do the same thing every weekend.
Well, I was thinking about, like, my bike getting stolen. You got the street walkers at night.
Yeah, this got some of that, too.
Yeah. Well, anyways, they didn't think they were going to see any of that kind of stuff. They were coming down here to party and go to Disney World. This one's called Spider Snake. Oh, my. It was 1978. Which is the same year that Grease came out, and bell bottoms were still popping.
Damn.
Yeah. And the Barber and the Boucher families were waiting to hear back from their boys. They went a whole week without hearing from them since they left for Daytona Beach in Orlando. And it had been about 6 days since they last got a call from them, letting them know that they had arrived safely. James Boucher was the eldest of the Boucher family, as far as, like, the kids went. And he thought he was pretty mature for the mustache that he was trying to rock. I got a picture. I'll show it to you. But he was rocking it pretty hardcore. And he had just won this, like, the statewide bowling competition. And he won $10,000.
Damn.
Dude, I'm saying. So he took $400 out for the vacation and put the rest aside for, like, a brand new 1979 Camaro that he had to, like, order.
That's smart. That's smart.
And that's a sick car back then. That was the newest shit. So, side note, $400 in 1978 is the equivalent to $1,678 in 2021.
What?
Yeah. He wasn't playing around for this trip. That's quite a bit of money to go fucking partying with, right?
Yeah.
So, in the total amount of $10,000, that would be almost $42,000 today.
I believe you. I'm bad at math.
I had to Google it. All right. So he wasn't going alone, though, James. He was bringing his best friend that he had known for 7 years, Daryl Barber, which he was 2 years older. He was 19. And James was 17. But he was the youngest of his siblings in the Barber family. And he had a 1972 Chevy Nova with a black top. So,
I'm guessing these details are important.
Yeah.
All right.
They'll come back.
All right.
But they're sick cars, too, so. But that's how they were getting to Florida.
Okay.
And there wasn't any formal, like, agreement with the parents, like, you got to call us every single day. Or, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Anything like that, but it was kind of weird that they went the entire week without calling their parents.
Partying, man.
You know, well, maybe, you know, maybe it was hard to find pay phones, but it wasn't.
Forget how long ago it was.
So, according to the files from the Florida Drug and Law Enforcement, or the FDLE, that we got from the Volusia County Sheriffs Office, when they arrived, they called from a Pisano restaurant in Daytona Beach. I never heard of it.
Yeah, I don't know.
But that was also back in the 70s. But they called around like 10:30, and they told James's parents that they made it like safely, that they had finally made it to town, like in Daytona. But they hadn't made it to their hotel at that point. And also, in the files and in the book, The Snake and the Spider by Karen Kingsbury, it was only James who called, and Daryl asked Miss Boucher to, like, tell his mom that they were okay. Like, relay the message.
Right.
For anybody listening, if you get a chance to check out the book, The Spider and the Snake, it's dope. So I'm going to put the link in the show notes for that book, because it's dope.
It's dope.
It's dope.
If y'all didn't understand, it's dope.
It like really gets into the detail of like what the family was going through which is pretty intense.
Right, because you can't find nothing about it on Google hardly.
Yeah, for real. That's
I remember
why,
looking up his mugshot, and that was hard. You can't find no mugshot.
Yeah. You gotta, like, really dig in to try to find anything.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, they were gone a whole week at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know. I would be freaking the fuck out. Like, you'd be freaking
Oh, yeah,
out, right?
for sure.
I mean, 2 days without the boys, and I'm like, what
Right.
the fuck? So it turned from a couple hours late to a few days and then, like, weeks. So after 48 hours, the parents went to, like, the police and, like, made the missing persons report. And they also hit the state police and ultimately even the governor's office because, you know, you gotta call fucking everybody.
Yeah.
So they filed the missing persons report and then they hit the bank because, you know, paper trail.
Right. But did he have only cash?
Oh, well, no. See, because he did pull out cash, but his dad thought it would be a smart idea not to only bring cash and
okay.
and to get some traveler's checks,
Okay.
which that's important. That comes back too. And the bank would know if those traveler's checks were cashed and shit. They didn't have debit cards. There were debit cards back then. Debit cards came out in like the 1950s or something. Right. All right, so the dad, Roy, went to the bank and asked for the records. And he had to, like, call a couple places, too, to, like, find this shit out. Because it wasn't, like, online.
Right.
So, luckily, they were able to get the checks and talk to the operator, like, with the checks and who, like, checked them and everything like that. And the parents are like, well, maybe we should check and see if they were forged. So the lady was like, no, it doesn't look like forged to me. And, like, we're trained to detect this kind of thing and blah, 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 blah. But it'll come back, like, they did look funky. They couldn't tell if they were forged or not, but they didn't look like his.
Okay.
Like, they looked close enough. It looked like someone was trying to mimic his handwriting. So the first check that was cashed was on a Sunday, and that was August 13th at a Magic Market in Daytona Beach, Florida. I was trying to think if I knew where a Magic Market was, but I can't think of one. I know there was, like, the Magic Mark.
I don't know.
On A1A, but...
I was going to say probably where that old Food Lion is on Granada. Everything fucking goes through that thing.
Everything was once there.
Right.
Maybe. I tried Googling that, too, but I couldn't find anything. The second one was on the 17th of August at a Roadrunner pit stop and grill in Funiac?
You're unsure. I definitely ain't gonna get it.
Funiac Springs, Florida. It's something like
we
that.
hope that's it.
Yeah, if we're saying it wrong and you're offended, like, sorry about that. I just didn't look up, like, the pronunciation of it. Which, I'm not familiar with that part at all. I've never heard of that place. But I did look it up, and it was like... It's, like, west of Tallahassee.
Oh, okay.
So that's way up there.
It's not around here.
Yeah,
All right.
no. That's way up there. Anyways, and the third check was cashed on the same day, on the 17th, at the North Beach Street Trailer Park, which I think was like Miller and Fisher. I think that was the name of it. Which was strange because, like, the kids were staying in hotels.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't going to stay in fucking trailers.
Right.
Who Airbnb, like a Airbnb and
right.
whatever.
Unless
the
they
fuck.
were into some, like, you know, illegal stuff.
These two teens came down from Michigan and all of a sudden in one day became some fucking...
That's what happens when you come to Daytona. What do you mean?
That's funny. Keep that in mind because that'll kind of come back too.
Oh, okay.
And it's not like a serious way, but... Anyways, on Friday, another check was cashed at Pascagoula, Mississippi. Some diner called Dobbs House. And another one in Ocean Springs at Ocean Springs Customs Cycle Shop.
And these were all cashed?
These were all the traveler's checks that were, like, paid.
Right. So, like, man, he's just blowing money.
Right. And in such weird places. Like,
right.
Dispersed. Why the fuck would he be in Funiac? You know, when he's coming here to go to Disney and hang out in Daytona.
Right, That's the opposite way.
So, like, when they found that out, they're like, why would he be in Michigan? Or, not Michigan, but Mississippi.
Maybe it's a Disney we don't know about. Anybody from Mississippi that got a Disney out that way?
What's the cool things out there in Mississippi?
Right.
Cooler than Disney. So the parents were tripping, you know. So, more so now, because why would they be way out there? It's like not even on the way back.
Right.
So they contacted the Michigan State Police and let them know that the checks and the locations and all that. And they also looked at their phone bill receipt. And, you know, I don't know if you remember seeing those. You can get them back and see, like, if you were charged anything for, like, phone
Statements?
calls. Yeah.
All right.
So, like, they could see that the phone call they received from the boys,
Oh, right.
it was actually in Ormond. It wasn't Daytona. Which, if you're not from Daytona or been around here, you don't really know that they're, like, side by side.
Right.
So it was kind of weird for the parents because they were like, what the fuck? Like,
Right,
they
where's
weren't
Ormond?
Yeah, what the fuck is that? When really it's just right next to it.
Mm.
So they got a hold of the state police in Michigan and told them about that. And an officer, Ray Burnham, was assigned to the boys' missing persons case. So they got a photo of that and made their missing person flyers and all that. And we got a picture of that too, so we should post that.
Sweet.
And then he started calling people because what's he gonna do? Drive down to Florida?
Right.
I mean, in a perfect world, a detective probably would, but I'm sure they got a lot of shit going on up there. But anyways, so he starts calling like down here, trying to figure out like what's going on, what's the story. But none of the places where the checks were cashed remembered like seeing the boys at all.
Right.
So he's calling these places like, did you ever see these two little teenage cats? Like, no, we didn't see nothing.
So that's like a suspect.
Right. Because you think you would remember seeing
Right.
two young cats rolling through paying with traveler's checks.
Oh, yeah.
But then again, I don't know, maybe.
I mean, depending on how much traffic they go through the whatever stores that they went through.
Right, and how popular it
Right.
was to use traveler's checks, I don't know. So, yeah. So he called all those places. Nobody recognized the kids. And he started thinking, like, yeah, okay, maybe the checks were forged.
Right.
And which was kind of weird because even Roy Boucher, like, talked to that trained person that was supposed to, like, notice forgeries.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that they looked, like, authentic. But
That man need to look for a new job.
he might have.
Oh, yeah. I forgot how long ago it was.
Yeah, 1978. So shit was totally different back then.
Yeah.
So anyways, so the cat, Ray, what the fuck was his name? Burnham?
Yeah. The sheriff or the officer.
The Michigan State Police Office.
Yeah.
All right, so Ray Burnham called a detective, Mickelson, in Daytona Beach in the police department down here. And he, like, told him about what was going on, and he mailed over photos and the missing persons report and everything like that. And nothing really happened. So, like, 2 months later, it was October 13th, the parents were like, fuck this. Like, you guys aren't getting anywhere with finding our sons, and we're not cool with that. So they hired a private investigator in Detroit.
Right. That's
And they
what
were
I
like,
would do.
You know what I mean? So his name was James Bird. So James Bird, after being hired, was like, okay, I'm going to hire another private investigator down in Florida. Right? Outsourcing.
Right. He just didn't want to come down to Florida.
Right. But it was pretty intense. This cat that he hired, Bob Brown, he's the man. He is. So he spent about a week on the phone calling, like, the boys' parents and their friends and their girlfriends and just trying to figure out, like, who these cats are.
Right.
You know, where would they hang out? What would they do? What would they eat? And he was like, there's no way this is just, like, two teens running off
Right.
and partying in Florida.
I mean, they wanted to go to Disney. Who doesn't want to go to Disney and don't go to Disney?
Right. Especially when you're balling,
Right.
you know?
Back then, $400 ain't even getting me into Disney.
Right, not now. Who knows back then? It might have just been like $50 or something.
Oh, man.
And Daryl also had money, too. I think he had like $172 or something with him. Something like that. All right, so Brown got the missing persons, like, flyers and all the rundown and learned about the checks and contacted the Michigan State Police and the Daytona Beach Police and how they had talked to the detective Michelson, and he decided it was time for him to just go down to Daytona. So he came down here and he talked to the detective Michelson about the case, and like I was saying, they didn't really have a chance to look at this case like at all, because I think there was a whole bunch of missing persons going on in Daytona anyways, and for the reasons why, like, oh, they were teens and they just ran off,
Right.
because that shit was real. People were doing that. So he was talking to him, and, you know, he was like, I'm just going to need help from you. Like, you got your hands full. I'll be on this shit, and I'm just going to need you to back me, pretty much. And the detective down here was like, that's cool with me, man. Fuck
Right.
yeah. So he started working from his car, and he hired, like, 2 people. This one cat, Mike and Rob. And they were trying to, like, backtrack the boys' steps. So they started, like, going around with the missing persons reports and, like, showing it to people on the beach and shit. Have you seen these cats? Have you seen them? And what was funny, in the book, they're like, the detective had to go buy new clothes because he looked too much like a cop.
Yeah.
Like,
We
I
ain't
just
talking to the
imagine him
cops.
in, like, a 3-piece suit, like, walking down the beach. So they went and got, like, a whole bunch of tourist, like, shirts and shit, and just, like, played the part.
The little flowery
Right,
tropical
that's
tops.
what I picked, yeah. That's what I pictured in my head, was, like, the real floral.
Dad flip-flops.
Yeah. So they had a $500, like, reward for any information on the flyers that they were passing out. And they went and they checked the hospitals, they checked the morgue, and then, they started going around and, like, hitting the flop houses all along the beach. Yeah, so they weren't just, like, going up and knocking on the door. They were just, like, fucking kicking in the door. And just, like, walking through and just being like,
Can't be doing
have
that
you
in
seen
these
this
days.
motherfucker? And, like, well, maybe in a flop house you could. 'Cause who's gonna fucking call the cops?
True.
They're all fucking stoned
And
out
they're
their
everywhere.
mind.
They ain't just on the beach nowadays.
Right. So they couldn't find them or anything like that. So they started making, like, a map of the interstate from, like, Daytona to, like, that Mississippi town. I'm not sure which one. Ocean Springs, I think, was the last one. And he sent Mike and Rob up there, and they were going to get off on every, like, exit, pull over, and ask people, have you seen these kids? Have you seen them? Blah, blah, blah. So they did that, but nothing came up from it. No one's seen the kids. So Bob Brown was like, all right, well, fuck it. I'm going to go to the places where these checks were cashed. So he went and he hit that Magic Market, and there was just some old, like, New Yorker dude working there, and he was just like, I told the fucking cops last week that I ain't seen them kids, and blah. He's just like, fuck this, I ain't seen them kids, like. And then someone, I think, even paid with, a traveler's check, like, right when the private investigator was talking to him. So he was like,
right.
you see how often I get these?
All the time.
Yeah.
He's done with it.
Yeah.
I want cash.
So the next stop he went to was that trailer park off of North Beach Street. Oh, and I should bring this up because there is, like, small inconsistencies in between my 2 sources. So, like, from the book and the Volusia County Sheriff's Office, like, report, there's small little things that aren't the same. They don't line up. So, like, for instance, how many checks were cashed where? So, like, in the book, it kind of makes it seem like not that many were cashed, or maybe, like, they only talk about a few of them than how many there were actually were, because in the police report, there's more.
Right.
Anyways, so they go there, back to that trailer park, and there was a manager there, Miss Pansy Wade. Yeah.
What a name.
I know, right? So, and yeah, the name of the trailer park was Miller Fisher, and that was at 606 North Beach Street. And that's why I said the whole check thing, because she says that she accepted 7 travelers' checks there in the name of James Boucher from a man known as Snake. And he was paying rent for a lot number 9. Right. So, and like that's why I brought up the check thing, because if you read the book, they don't say that.
Right.
You know, but in the police report it did. So Snake had actually come in and paid rent in advance, and he threw this like huge party around the same time that the boys were down. And coincidentally, he had a new ass car. It was red and black. Right. And his story about the car was that he had got it in a fair and square drug deal.
I told you, it's always drugs.
Right. Well, that's why you come to Daytona, right?
No matter what year.
So, all right, so Snake. His name was John Cox Jr. He was a former Tampa trucker. He was a former Tampa trucker, possibly a pagan biker, and an all-around cocksucker. Yeah, he was well known.
Was that in somewhere?
No, I wrote that. That's my own opinion.
I was going to say, damn, I like the articles from back then.
No, this is my articles. So yeah, he was well known around Daytona, and especially to cops, given to say he had a record. And it just so happened that the fingerprints on the traveler's checks from the trailer park and the Magic Market came back as Snake's.
No.
Right. It thickens.
Right.
So the private investigator that James Bird, the first private investigator hired, Bob Brown, started hitting the biker bars. Like I said, Bob Brown was the fucking man. He just started going around and hitting biker bars. And
he's a ballsy man.
Straight up.
That.
Fuck this, I'm here. Let's do
cop
this.
walking up there.
So he did find one of the bikers. It was an outlaw biker. And he got a little information out of him about Snake, but he also told him about someone that he chilled with that went by Spider. Right.
That's fucked up name.
Great names for critters.
Critters.
Fucking critters.
I mean, yeah.
So he was like,
where's the mouse?
Where's the mouse? Well, there was one other person, and he went by the name of Fat Man. Right. So these nicknames are popping. You gotta wonder how these nicknames came about.
Right.
Who gave them these?
Right.
So he had heard the name Spider and Fat Man before. Bob Brown did at the trailer park. And he paid like $200 to that biker to find out that Spider's real name was Earl Smith.
Damn. $200
Right.
to snitch?
Right. Well, you gotta remember that was...
Oh, yeah, that was a lot of money back then.
Yeah. So, and that's not the first time he'll do that. And he found out also that Spider was Snake's roommate back at the trailer park. And he also found out from that cat that Snake usually carried like 2 loaded 38s and an ice pick with him.
No, he was ready for whatever.
He was always ready. He was a snake ready to attack.
True that.
But, so Bob Brown, now knowing that Spider was the roommate, and he got Spider's name, Earl Lee Smith, he gave it to that detective Mickelson in Daytona. And then he looked him up. Boom, they got a hit. It's fucking, he was locked up.
Oh, so he didn't do it?
He was locked up for weapons charges.
Oh, but
Right.
he was out.
Yeah, and
At
you
the
gotta
time?
you gotta remember this. It happened in August when the boys went missing. We're now in October,
Right.
close to December. So it's been a couple months. Detective Mickelson and private investigator Bob
I thought
Brown.
you were saying Nicholson the whole time. Okay.
Mickelson.
Now we're all the same page.
The detective
With M.
Mickelson and Bob Brown. They went and they interviewed Spider in the pen. And he really didn't want to talk at first. And he was kind of like giving them shit until they mentioned Snake. And they were like, then they noticed that he started getting nervous and shit. He's like, what the fuck? Oh, shit. So he did eventually say that he saw a snake with a red and black Nova, and he also seen him with a bunch of traveler's checks. And the only thing he knew about how he got those traveler's checks was that he had made a big hit. Like, he made a big lick.
Like a drug deal.
Like a robbery.
Oh, shit.
Right.
Well, yeah, with that car and them traveler checks.
Right, so after that, he had headed up to Mississippi, and Spider hadn't seen him since then. And that was in August. I remember.
Explains the check.
The boys went missing
right.
in August. After that, a couple weeks went by, and Bob Brown went back to talk to Spider, because he was like, this motherfucker knows more than what he's telling me.
Right.
Like, he obviously knows something else. So he goes and sees him, and Spider tells him a little bit more. He's like, come on, I know that you've seen these kids. Like, just be real with me. And he was like, all right, yeah, I did. And he was like, all right, where did you see them at? And he was like, at Snake's trailer. So now he's saying the boys had been there.
Right.
You know? And Snake's trailer was at that trailer park where the traveler's checks were cashed.
And this is the cat that took the $200 to snatch?
No.
Oh.
This is Spider.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, who's in the pen, who was the roommate of Snake.
Okay.
So other than that, that's all he really said on the second visit that he had from him. So Bob Brown went on the hunt again, and this is where he finds another biker, but this biker's dope. His name is Larry.
Larry!
Shout out. Fucking Impractical Jokers. So he finds this cat, Larry. And so he tells Larry, like,
somebody
look.
better tell Joe. That's all I kept thinking about. Tell Joe we found Larry.
We found him. He's a dope biker. No, I don't know how dope he was in his whole life, but at this moment he was dope. So he's like, look, I'll give you $200, 100 now and 100 later, if you could find any information on this dude, Fat Man. Because he already found Spider.
Right.
So dude's like, okay. So he tracks down one cat, the biker does, and influences him to tell where Fat Man is. So then he finds fucking Fat Man. And then he learns that Snake was now living in Tampa with his wife in some trailer. And he had a nice red and black Nova in the fucking driveway. And he also, because I wrote, Larry was such a great negotiator. He came to Bob Brown's office with the address. It was a Bayfront Trailer Park, 108 South 28th Street, Lot 40. So that's where Snake was staying now. And like
that man should have became a detective.
Right? Straight up. So the car was out front, but it didn't have any license plates. So they could see, like, you know, the VIN number and everything, but they would have to take it, go back and look it up. So while they were there, Snake's wife, I think her name was Deborah, she had like came home, and she was with some dude too, drunk off her ass.
Oh.
Yeah,
of course.
They get out the car drunk as fuck, and she's like, what are you doing? That's my car. Like, I got it for my birthday, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, nah, son, we're taking this.
Right.
So they loaded it up, and they took it back to, like, the laboratory to, like, do their shit and see if they could find any clues. So Bob Brown, after they found the car and everything, so they're like, all right, a lot of shit's adding up here. You know, the car's there. Snake's not there because he had just got a new trucking job and he was out on the road until, like, December.
How convenient.
Right. But, I mean, that's what the fuck he did, and I guess that's why Deborah was partying.
Shit.
Right. So he goes back to Spider, and this time it was only because the parents are like, all right, look, we come up with an idea. We'll pay for the defense of Spider if he can tell us, like, what happened to them. All right, so he went and told him, like, the deal, like, look, they'll pay for your defense fees, blah, 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 and they're like, what? He was like, why the fuck would I do that? Like, I don't know nothing, fuck you.
I didn't do nothing.
Yeah, I didn't do anything, fuck you, all this. He was just being a piece of shit. He didn't care about the kids. But he did keep, like, dropping suggestions. like giving little clues. Like, he knew that the boys stayed at the Thunderbird Motel. And he even said, like, I know what number room it was. It was 103. But that's also, like, an inconsistency, like I was talking about. They also said, I think in the Volusia County Sheriff's report, it was 109.
Oh, okay.
And in the book, it was 103. So, like, I don't know where the mix-up was or anything like that, but it's essentially the same thing going down, but, like, little weird things like that. It's like, who was right? But anyways, Spider did tell Bob Brown, like, look, I could tell you one thing. Stop looking for the boys. They're dead. Right? So now, you know.
That's like a big...
You gotta be like, fuck, dude.
Right.
Fuck you. I'm gonna find them now.
Right.
Like, you know that they're dead. How?
Right. Like, how does he know they're dead? Was he involved? Or, like, what's going on? That sounds a little suspect to me.
All right. Just a little info that he might have.
Right. I want to know what he knows.
Well, I guess you'll have to find out on tomorrow's episode. Because that's when we're coming back for this.
So keep on stalking.
Keep on stalking, and thanks for listening. If you do want to get all the updates and news on our stuff, our Instagram is _crime_stalkers. Twitter is @crime_stalkers. Facebook is just the Crime Stalkers Podcast.
Follow it.
Follow all of them. And pretty soon we should have a Patreon up. But if you do want to get a hold of us, we have an email, and it is thecrimestalkers@gmail.com. And we hope you tune in tomorrow for the next episode.
We out.